So I just quit my job about a week ago. Um, Against all advice, I refused to quiet quit, and I just pulled the plug. Um, I had my boss on the phone a couple days ago, um, and yeah, I think I feel a little bit like kind of shell shocked. Um, you know, like nothing, like nothing dramatic happened or anything like that. And but I think that's part of the problem. So like I worked with young people who are neurodivergent. Like they're just nerds. They're gamer kids who grew up on the internet like me. And like the more I look back, the more I see, like there is not really a lot of difference between, how I grew up in the 90s and how they are growing up now in the 2020s. Like there's a lot more, like with diagnoses and stuff like that. Thankfully, in the 90s, like it was mostly just, you know, you're either you're normal or either you fit in or you're weird, right? And I was weird. I didn't fit in. Like you know, like I grew up in Europe. So here, like if you don't play football or soccer, then you play badminton or you maybe play handball. If you don't do any of those things, then you're probably weird. You probably don't fit in, or at least maybe you don't have to play them, but you have to, it's something you have to at least have had an interest in. But, if you're a kid who grows up without a lot of friends, if you're a kid who grows up being like like aggressively disinterested in most of the things that other people were into, then yeah, you're gonna be weird. You're gonna have to look out for. You're gonna have to watch out for bullies. You're gonna have to like learn how to run fast or talk fast or hit first. Um, yeah, like I can't like thankfully I hit puberty fast. I was like from the sixth grade. I was one of the tallest in the class, and then so yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I didn't have to deal with, thankfully, because I wasn't short. Like it would have been a lot. A lot of it would have been a lot different if I wasn't tall or if I wasn't a big dude. So yeah, um, I got diagnosed with ADHD about, I don't know, at the beginning of this year, I think. Um, and Yeah, so I'm on medication for that, and that has helped sort out a good deal of small things. It hasn't been a it has there hasn't been one big game changer, but like a considerable amount of small things are just easier to manage, or at the very least to cope with. And it has really just given me some perspective the last few months. So like I'm not working now. I like what am I like officially on furlough or something? I don't know what it's called in English. But yeah, like I've taken time off here and there to just take some time to myself. Had to like figure out some stuff like dealing with mental health stuff. So a lot of that, a lot of that mental health stuff is only really like making sense now. But there is, like there is one thing, that really just fucking like I was told for a long time that I had depression, and like I've been dialing down work as much as I could the last couple of years. I moved out of the city I lived in. I moved into a smaller city, a yeah, a city that's a bit cheaper, not as cheap as I hoped it would be, but it's a lot quieter and it's a lot friendlier. Huge game changer to to actually be in a place where people you know they stop and chat, they smile, and it's not it's not like howdy doody, like the milkman drives down the street and and the postman chats with everyone in every single household, but there's just like a little bit more eye contact, there's a little bit more smiling and just a bit more space for yourself and for other people. And I really appreciate that. Like that is like that alone has done wonders. Like the city I moved from is extremely expensive and everyone has like this like New Yorker syndrome where they are convincing themselves that it's somehow cool that they're living in a city that's killing them because it's so expensive. And maybe, maybe some of them, they do own their apartment or they do own the place they live in. So they see some sort of freedom, like, oh, one day this thing's going to be paid off. Then we're going to be free. And you're like, but they're just as much of a wage slave as everyone else until then. And again, what does it matter? I don't want to break my brain with work stress. And again, the way the economy is going, I wouldn't in that city, I wouldn't be able to retire until 80 anyway. Like what am I going to do at 80, that I like to do now? Like no. Like I've had friends in the city who have like legitimately changed, like they have warped. Like they are like these like I honestly like to a degree, man, like it's like I didn't see a lot of that, like I don't know what they're called, there's this TV show called Supernatural, right, where like there's like these like I don't know, like shadow people or whatever the fuck. I know this sounds like completely fucking deranged, but like I have friends, or I had friends, who also moved to the city from the country, who are simply just like they're so angry all the time now. They've basically like turned into like little goblins or something, like anything that challenges like their thinking like they're more or less like hissing and sneering at you, and they're totally black pilled, like they're like they don't believe in anything. They don't really like anyone. The only like these are funny dudes, like these are dudes who, like under slightly different circumstances will probably be running, like a moderately successful podcast today. Like, but everyone, like, they've all just like shrunk into these angry versions of who they were, like 20, 25 years ago. And everybody acts like, everybody acts like I changed and I'm weird because I can still sit and have a conversation about politics, about religion, or whatever, and find it interesting, first of all. And second of all, I can do it, without storming out the door, without getting angry, without getting personal, Like a lot of people I knew have just been like, the city has just like, or rather the stress of living in a place that's supposed to afford you a lot of freedom, right? A lot of possibility, but like none of them go out. Like I was in the city yesterday. I was at the cinema with my D&D friends, who have thankfully, yeah, who have resisted like this stuff that a lot of other people have, just kind of like given into, But even like yesterday, I go into the city and it's like all the places close at 10 in the evening, like they do here in a smaller city anyway. There's nothing going on, middle of the city, like there's nothing going on. Like people can't afford to go out as much as they used to. A lot of people have left, the service industry, after, like during and after the lockdowns, and of course a lot of bosses, like over here in Europe, like you like the minimum wage is is higher here, and it's not like it wouldn't pay off for them. It would definitely still be good business to stay open, just a little bit late. But like no, like even like some of my favorite bars from in the city are, they just started closing earlier. So like, all right, you're paying an arm and a leg to live in this part of the city where people are less friendly, they have less time. And again, I'm not talking about we all have to stop and chat with each other and ask, oh, so how are the kids? I'm just talking about somebody holding the door for me if I'm, exiting the post office, and I'm like, and I'm trying to get out of there with like a fucking coffee machine or something, and I don't have to. It's simply, something as simple as that. Somebody holding the door, so I don't have to like jujitsu kick, and hold the door open and like trying to not fall over my own feet because I am absolutely awful at multitasking. Like just yeah, like somebody holding the door, like somebody smiling, or like somebody asking each other for directions and stuff like that, and people saying please and thank you, just all those small things where in the city I just saw people kind of shutting down, which, whoa, all right, bitch. So, god damn it, my got infected. So yeah, I'm just like, and it all, it ties back, it ties back into the quiet quitting. And and honestly, like, I saw this thing online about, like, like how the easiest way, basically, like, if in a manipulative at a manipulative workplace or a family or in society, like, the easiest way to control people basically is by making them feel shame. And I think there's something to that, and I think there's something to a lot of us being too proud to admit that, like, it's just a little bit of an uphill battle sometimes, and we just don't talk about it. And sure, we go to, you know, I mean, some go to therapy, and like that's getting too expensive too. Like, the standard of living is falling. It is. Like, I was a fuck up in the '90s. Like, I was aimless. I was clueless. I had no idea where to go and what to do. But, like, still, I did not. I did not need to like basically become like a finance guru in order to figure out how to live in the city and have some fun, like going out to watch a few movies and you know, going out drinking once in a while, like yeah, it's getting tough, and it's not fun anymore. It's just like, it's not fun. It's unreasonably like, it's unreasonable, and I think there's just this thing, where it feels like some, admitting failure to just say out loud that, what, like, this is insane. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't like my job. I don't really like my friends anymore. uh like yeah, like half of my family I fucking hate, and the other half I just have nothing in common with, because they're NPCs. They are like deeply blue pilled. They can talk about whatever the news has told them is what we talk about. And other than that, they love to not think. They love to not have opinions on shit. And I don't know. Like, I don't know what that is exactly. I don't know how anyone can translate it to, like, oh, like, I'm like, it's some sort of privilege, like, oh no, I'm doing good. My life is so much in order that I don't have to have opinions anymore, like caring about what's going on in the world, caring about politics is something, like, that only plebs have to care about. Or I don't know what it is. Like, I see this thing, and I've seen this thing with people just like, no, let's not talk politics. There's going to be animosity. Let's not talk politics. Let's not talk about religion. And I've always just been like, but why? Like, if you have, if you believe in something good, you know, if you have good values, why would it ever be a problem? And I always felt kind of gaslit, in those situations, because I was like, why is this a minefield? Should it, and does it make sense? Should it be? And what I've realized the last few years is people actually find freedom in not thinking, like, at all. Like, a lot of people, and, like, in effect, it's quiet quitting, right? And I don't know. It just, like, it's like a fucking sledgehammer to the fucking solar plexus, man. I suddenly realized, like I've been taught by teachers who maybe they weren't quite quitting, but it's the same effect, because they were so much running on autopilot, completely mentally and emotionally checked out to a degree where, like effectively it is quiet quitting. Like I've had one or two teachers who liked to teach, who liked kids, and who saw their job as a privilege or even a gift to be allowed, to like yeah, to be allowed to pass on stuff that they had learned, and maybe they had figured stuff that they hadn't learned, and then they understand that it's important to teach the next generation stuff that the generation before hadn't taught them, and all this stuff. And and I've been told, oh no, you just have depression. And at one point I'm on Reddit, I'm on slash anti work. Somebody made a post about like why is everyone, like some dude asked basically like why at 19 I've had three jobs now. Nobody cares what they're doing. Nobody cares about being better at their jobs. Nobody cares about like anything other than flying under the radar or sucking up to the boss. Like, what is happening? And one of the top responses was, just leave. It's not going to get better. Look for something else. And one of the very top responses was, you don't have to care. And another top response was, I think it was under the, you don't have to care. Why don't you stop caring about this? Basically, why don't you go to work without putting any pride into what you're doing? Why don't you go through every day not trying to learn, not trying to improve, not, like not looking for stuff to pour your heart into? Why would you ever look to find pride in your craft? And I don't give a shit. Like I don't care if you're flipping burgers or you're selling cars or you're like you're making top tier sushi or what, or you're making art. We should put we should have some sort of craft or trade that we should put pride into. Like we should. Like we are like completely alienated from ourselves if we are alienated by all the work, like all the stuff we produce, all the services that we provide, that like we might as well be cows that are being milked then, if we're just going to be completely zoned out, not like not put anything into what we do, and just like switch off our brains, and then we go home, and then we switch off our brains even further by watching the dumbest fucking shit we can find on TV or on streaming. Like after doing like like after spending a whole day avoiding challenging ourselves. And I do understand that a lot of jobs are demanding because they are painfully boring, right? But it's just weird. Like we spend the whole day thinking and feeling as little as possible, and then we go home and reward ourselves with more of that. And I just see one of these Reddit posts way up at the top. Somebody asked, "Are you sure you just don't have autism?" And I just fucking lost it. Like something just broke my brain. Like this seemed to be like a pretty general consensus that if you care about being proud of your work, if you care about putting care into what you do, if you care about raising the bar, or if you care about like developing an expertise, you must be autistic. There must be something wrong with you if you care about what you spend 8 to 10 hours on every fucking day. And like I'm not gonna judge people for quiet quitting. I understand. I fucking get it. But like as someone who has been trained and like taught, I've had almost exclusively teachers who were quiet quitting and who phoned it in. I'm just like, and not to go into like a totally political thing, but at my workplace, nobody knows like what our tax money is going to. Still, everybody thought, after the Iraq wars, everybody thought that okay, like we did some stuff. We helped the Americans do some bad stuff in the Middle East. But that's over now. Like that darkness has left us. Those naughty boys and girls in charge of all that have had a slap on the wrist, and everybody is reforming and rehabilitating now. And it just fucking breaks my brain to see people have no clue what's going on and what has been going on for the last 77 years. In part because, of course, like it is, the lead is being buried in journalism, right? It is very deliberate. And I'm not going to get all tinfoily in or anything here, but it is very much on purpose that there's stuff that they happen to not cover on our news until they absolutely have to, right? I think we would be in a different place. And I'm not saying, I'm not judging anyone for quiet quitting. I would have had to do it too. It would kill me. I would have had to do it too. If things didn't land, they did for me now. But if we had all been a bit better at challenging people who quiet quit, at challenge, or at least like challenging people who were completely mentally checked out, at the very least, if we should not accept like school teachers who are phoning it in. Like I had school teachers who came to work, like I don't know if they were drunk, but then they were at the very least extremely hungover. It took me a while to figure out, in the fifth grade, like why one of the teachers, was just like wolfing through like 3 packs of chewing gum, uh, in a couple of hours of English, and like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, that's why it's the fucking vodka breath. All right, cool, great. You really don't want to be here, do you? You really don't want to spend time with us. Like already there, like some of us, I think, got this feeling that we were in the way, that we were a burden, to sit there in the fourth or fifth grade and to have an authority figure look at you like you're a turd that they have to pick up, that kind of does something to you, you know? And then when you continue to be like met with like the same kind of indifference, it makes sense that, you know, we are where we are now. But God, I wish we at least could have challenged. There's just some people who should maybe look for a career change, you know? If you're working with people and you're phoning it in, you are there's a definite possibility that you are actively doing harm to these people, because like they need tools, they need resources. The world continues to change around us. If you're allowed to sit in an apartment, you know, not be challenged, not learn new skills, if you are allowed, or rather enabled, to sit and do nothing that challenges you, like you're gonna be worse for wear, you know. You're stepping into some sort of like time pocket, and you're gonna regress, right? And I've done that. I've done that, you know. I've had like over a year where I literally did nothing but play video games and watch TV all day. Like, you know, my social skills, you know, worsened. Like just like my general interest. It's not even about the social skills. Like it was just like my general interest, you know, in like engaging with other people, in having any contact with anyone, you know. It's if you unplug completely, it's difficult to plug back in, you know. I'm terrified of unplugging now because I've had like over a year where I was just like in a total fucking bubble, playing World of Warcraft, and totally, you know, like I might as well have been living on my own little planet, you know. It was difficult to plug back in, and you know, to care about, you know, to care about other people, to care to go on dates, to care enough to get involved in anything other than, you know, whatever was going on in my bubble at the time. So yeah, so yeah, I had to quit. You know, I had to. Like my colleagues were phoning it in. They're not, of course, going to tell you that they're phoning it in. My boss was phoning it in, and so people are basically lying, you know, to your face when everyone's telling you everything is fine. You know, this is fine. There's, you know, there's no fire. Everything is. You're being dramatic, basically, right? So you're treated like some hysterical Karen because you're the only one seemingly who wants to acknowledge that something is off, and you're trying to say in as nice of a way that you can that I think we're checking out. I think we are. You know, I think we're kind of quiet quitting, and I think it's a problem. And then when everyone tells you no, there's no problem. There's no problem. Then yeah, I had to fucking unplug, man. Like I've been in a lot of different types of work. Again, if you're at an office, you know, if you're scanning barcodes, you know, if you're packing stuff, you know, in a warehouse, like whatever. But like if you're teaching, if you're a teacher, or if you're some sort of like social consultant, you know, you're supposed to be some sort of mentor. Like, for the love of God, do not quiet quit. Find something else. I all the people I know now who are complete, you know, like are black pilled, including family members, you know, that I don't talk to anymore. People who are like they hate everything, right? And people who used to be very smart, funny, like really quick people. the only sense of humor now is like spite, you know, uh, getting a kick out of seeing their high school friends, you know, getting a divorce and shit like that. Like, and people they would otherwise be kind of fake around, you know, and be friendly with, and then soon as they're, you know, as soon as they turn their backs, you know, like they're secretly rooting for everyone else to fail. Like I fucking can't, man. So so yeah, I quit. I'm done. I was on the phone with my boss for over over an hour of gaslighting. You know, like it's like it reminded me of that scene from Blade Runner, the sequel, the 2025 or whatever it was, 2077. You know, where like they're trying to test, you know, the cells interlinked scene where they're testing if the main character is still completely disconnected and robotic. You know, they're testing if he's still totally depersonalized, you know, because of course they need him to be unplugged. Hanging up the phone with my boss the other day felt like that. You know, it felt like all the gaslighting and all of the moving the goalposts and everything. It felt like you're doing something wrong, you know, if you're not totally unplugged. And that was just weird, man. That was weird. It feels unnatural. Okay, it doesn't feel healthy. And yeah. So again, I'm not blaming anyone for quiet quitting or zoning out, but like if you have some sort of responsibility, you know, like you're supposed to look out for someone in your job, you're supposed to be teaching them or mentoring them or whatever, like maybe consider looking for alternatives, you know? Like I don't like if you're a coder somewhere and your boss is a dick, like who cares? But if you do have a responsibility for someone else, you know, like I wouldn't want, you know, I wouldn't want it for anyone else to have had teachers who were checked out, who were phoning it in. I wouldn't, I don't have kids, but if I had kids, I wouldn't want my kids to have teachers who were phoning it in and who were, you know, who wish they could just like switch off their brains for 8 hours when they go to work, you know? So yeah, yeah, it just kind of broke my brain that we are at a place now where it's apparently we act like yeah, and I mean Reddit is not, you know, like I'm not this you know, there's no like statistical analysis or anything, but like if we seriously are in a place now where it is considered autistic to want to give a shit about what you spend your time on and where you want to feel connected to your work or your art or whatever you pour your time into, I think that's messed up. I just think that's messed up. Um, so yeah, that's where I'm at. Don't know what's gonna happen from here, but like I think I'm gonna land on my feet economically. I wish I had figured some of this stuff out sooner. But I'm very, very grateful that I did figure it out either way, because, like, you know, I'm in my 40s. I have seen people who haven't figured it out in their 60s, and by that time, like, there's not a lot left. Like, I know that sounds rough, but you know, we're being ground down. Our, you know, like work itself is kind of a psychic vampire that wants us to be exhausted and complacent, if you ask me at least. So, yeah, that was a bit of a longer rant than I thought it would be or I intended it to be. But yeah, I fucking quit. Don't know what's gonna happen from here, but man, like I feel free. I it was the right thing. It was the right thing to unplug from an unhealthy environment. And yeah, I'm gonna try and look for something healthier to plug into now. But yeah, yeah, I'm fucking done. On to the next thing, you know?